Building blockchain ecosystems, technologies, and region-wise. Hello, everyone. It's good to see or to hear everyone who connected today here with us. So we are at the third day of the Blockchain Day online. It is the second panel, discussion panel. My name is Nika Konstantinova, and I'm truly honored to be here with you and moderating this panel discussion. So, what's so unique about us all here? Blockchain technology develops at a very, very super speed. And of course, generating new companies, new projects. With blockchain, we receive the ability to work out a single truth with the help of intermediaries or central authorities. But how to handle that speed of life and how to make major changes is a good help of your company. Here you will hear the answers, and today we will also reveal some secrets about blockchain ecosystems, complex or network or interconnected systems. During the discussion, you will get a unique opportunity to hear from face to face, from different corners of the world, from our speakers, about functions of blockchain ecosystem, processes, structures, also its connection and dependence on the environment. Our international experts will share their experience and talk about future possibilities for blockchain ecosystems in their networks as well. So, may the time be as useful as possible to you, and make sure if you've got some questions, write them down into chat. I'm watching you from time to time, and let the final panel of the Blockchain Day Online begin right now. And let me introduce our honorable speakers of today's panel. So, international experts. First of all, Yannick Dols, resource partner at EGT Group Recruitment and Talent Development at We Are Blocks, strategic advisor at Blockchain Startups International keynote speaker. Yannick heads the direction of blockchain startup Brightlands Innovation Factory, one of the largest IT accelerators in the Netherlands. And he is a founder of Headstarters, a bridge company between talents, new technologies, and investments. Fascinated by blockchain technology since 2013, he concentrates on developments related to the construction of a future operating system for society. Yannick Dols. Hello,
Thank you,
Yannick.
Nika, for the great introduction. Hello, greetings from the Netherlands.
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. So we are moving to the next speaker, and I'll be back to you in a couple of minutes. So, the next one is On Yavin. On Yavin is a co-founder and CEO at Cointelligence, is the data layer for the new crypto economy. He is the founder of Online Performers, a marketing agency focused on ICO and SEO services, and the founder of Executive Marketing and Advertising Agency. Over the past 20 years, he has developed a number of successful companies and has a range of experience in business development, sales, marketing operations, and tech knowledge. He served as a mentor and advisor at a number of Israel high-tech startups. On Yavin, welcome to our panel discussion.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We are very happy to have you here. So next one, Jafar Said. Jafar is an IT engineer, entrepreneur, public speaker, CEO and co-founder of Electrify Network, holding an MBA in management and international development. Having worked for startups for 5 years, Jafar has developed a stronger experience in building and growing successful businesses. Throughout his career, Jafar worked with several tech and green startups in Africa, in Europe. He has also co-founded various blockchain-related startups, such as Decentral Magazine and Dar Blockchain. Jafar is deeply passionate about Africa and believes in the power of blockchain to brighten the future of the continent. Hello, Jafar.
Hello.
So
thank you
we
for
would
having
love
me,
to.
and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much. I would love to hear actually to emphasize about your experience with Africa. That would be nice if you would give us some moments, some experiences about Africa, because it is always very interesting how the system works in different countries and continents. Thank you so much. And we are moving to Jim Eman. As a senior graduated student in the Killian Research Group, Jim managed the quantum degenerate atomic strontium apparatus, something that I don't really know what is happening here about, but hopefully you will give us a note to understand everything on that topic. One of only 3 such experiments in the world. Jim's work focuses on the ultra-cold regime dominated by quantum mechanics, where the search for new phenomena and novel states of matter can be explored. Jim has a unique and ever-growing toolbox of skills that allows him to approach problem while maintaining perspective of the overall goal. This approach makes him as comfortable debugging code or analyzing a statistical model as he is developing a plan to study the underlying quantum physics of magnetism and superconductivity. Hello, Jim.
Good morning, or hi, Nika. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the discussion. And maybe
forward you will reveal all the secrets about all these unknown words for us during your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving forward, Sandris Murins. Sandris is a strategic director and co-founder of Iconic Lab, public speakers, AI tokenization advisor. So Sandris is a blockchain strategist and serial entrepreneur with 7 years of business development experience. Apart from being the co-founder and strategy director of Iconic Lab, he is a visiting lecturer in innovation and creativity at Riga Stradiņas University, I guess I'm right with the pronunciation, and University of Latvia, Stockholm School of Economics, as well as PhD candidate in sociology. Oh, come on. So please welcome Sandris.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And the last but not least, we have here Nikola Stoyanov. Nikola, the Chief Business Development Officer of Eternity and CEO of Eternity Ventures. Nikola Stoyanov has extensive experience working in business development roles in Germany, Eastern Europe, MENA, Asia, and the Pacific. He has developed and consulted on numerous international projects for over a decade. Passionate believer in the unlimited possibilities of blockchain technologies. Nikola joined Eternity nearly 2 years ago, and today he also serves as a business development advisor for ADEX, the decentralized and serving network, and as a strategic advisor for Lockchain, the blockchain-based hotel booking and vacation rental marketplace. Hello, Nikola.
Hello.
Nice. So I can hear everyone well here. So today we're talking on the topic of building blockchain ecosystems, technology and region-wise. I would love to hear a couple of words from your part, one by one, starting with Yannick Dols. Please, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Nika. Yeah, if you look at, of course, a combination of one, of course, it's always about the ecosystem of all the parts of, let's say, the technology-wise. You see now throughout the years it has been developed, and a lot of toolkits and basic parts of building an application on top of the blockchain are now being set. While in the beginning it was much more focused on infrastructure. And on top of that, then you get that people are gathering and moving to certain regions to basically develop their ventures in this specific way. And especially in the blockchain space, I think it's very special to see, because one, of course, you have the decentralized nature, so people don't really care exactly where they are. But on the other hand, you see that a lot of countries, basically, because it's something new and legislation-wise, there is a lot of hurdles and a lot is unknown. And you see certain countries jumping on that, this Crypto Valley in Switzerland, to really create an ecosystem where attract all the stakeholders needed and have good legislation in that area to attract startups to put their venture there and to put their economic development there. So I think it's a combination of technology and region-wise, but it has a lot of decentral nature. So yeah, really looking forward also to the future, how this develops. And I hope that especially region-wise, different ecosystems will connect in a very good way and strengthen each other to really get the innovation going.
Okay, thank you so much, Yannick. Would love to hear from Jafar.
Yes. So hello, everyone. What I wanted to mention here is that especially I'm working in the African continent. So I'm based in Paris, but I'm actually working on many projects in the African continent. And what I can see here is that many people, like, they are waiting for the blockchain to make the revolution for the African continent. As you know, like most of the countries are still have lack of basics. There are many countries, for example, they don't have access to electricity, and we are talking about this digital revolution, and we can't we need to fix those basics so that this continent will be in the heart of this technological revolution. So yeah, there are many initiatives, and yes, we will discuss where we can make these opportunities real.
Thank you, Jafar. We would love to move with Jim thoughts on this topic, please, Jim.
Yeah, so I really see, as Jafar pointed out, bringing basic services that are available to a lot of first world countries to places around the globe. I mean, particularly banking, right? The ability to have access to money services for people that just, in the United States, it's a travesty when a congressman says, why do we need this entirely new system of money whenever I can just go to my bank and I don't have to worry about it. And just the complete lack of perspective is astonishing. So so the ability to connect people with really kind of basic services that will help emerge markets around the world is, I think, vital. But also just what I see as blockchain kind of generally and globally is that this connection of the digital world and the real world. So we talk about supply chain tracking, and one of the perennial examples is Airbnb, a decentralized Airbnb, and really what I see that is it's this connection of the real world into the digital. And I mean, that's a hard problem, and I think Satoshi made a huge step forward in being able to propose a system that says, okay, here is a version of truth that we can all agree on. And now the next big challenge is, how do we put truth onto the blockchain that we can then ask everyone, do we agree to this truth? So that connection, I think, is also quite important. And figuring out how to do that effectively globally is one of the big challenges in front of us.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. Okay, moving to Nicola Stoyanov. It's your turn right now.
I think the previous speakers have already identified a couple of very interesting points, but what I want back to are the following. opportunity on the other one. We now really have this amazing new structure and technology, which actually is a distributed ledger, not more, not less, and that we can make a lot of use now. And I really like that Jafar is already also venturing into Africa. We did the same thing with Eternity, and we're quite happy to see what kind of technological know-how and, let's say, also like high level of developers and great ideas we found there. Being able to have joined Eternity at such an early stage, we were on one hand not only able to build an infrastructure, but also start to figure out what are the needs and what are the applications that we will need at a later stage in order to work towards actual adoption. And that's why we actually created Eternity Ventures, in order to support this entire ecosystem. Yannick mentioned earlier that this decentral part, this freedom of movement part, is very important, and it will grow also in importance, because you don't need to be bound to a physical location anymore. With today's technology and with today's access and opportunities, you can pretty much be everywhere in the world, work in a very decentralized way with a great team, without having to be at one certain location at one certain time. Now, we have set, let's say, a very, very nice and good basis here, and I also agree with Jim that Satoshi's idea is being realized, and we're all working towards realizing it. But for me, now comes the moment where things get really interesting, because people start to understand what can actually a DLT be used for, and for what is it absolutely not used for. So I'm very much looking forward to the next couple of months and years, actually.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Okay, on Yarin, it's your turn right now.
Thank you. So I would like to mention the point that I see as one of the most problematic issues at the moment, and it's the regulation in most countries in the world. I would first say that we are very pro-regulation. We think that the industry needs regulation, especially with regards to cryptocurrency. And the way that I see it at the moment is that the governments are having huge difficulties with accepting the new technology. And for all of us that are involved in blockchain and cryptocurrency, it's very obvious that it's the future. It's very obvious that we do want to use it as much as possible to do good, but the governments are having a lot of difficulties with it, and we see that they don't understand it. And unfortunately, some of them are not even consulting with crypto and blockchain experts, and they make all kinds of decisions that are not relevant at all. And one example that I would mention that has nothing to do with our discussion today is everything that happened with the Facebook data catastrophics. And you could have seen that the American Congress was asking all kinds of questions, and it was so obvious that they don't understand what they're asking. And that's not even blockchain and cryptocurrency. That's technologies that exist for many, many, many years, and advanced technologies. So that's the first thing. The second, I would say, is that when you look at Israel, for example, the country that I come from, you see that Israel at the moment has so many amazing blockchain and cryptocurrency ventures, and so many popular and well-known companies already now in this so new industry. But when you look at what the government is doing, it's really embarrassing, to be honest. The government just issued, for example, a few days ago, a week ago, a statement saying that all the candidates that are in the government, they cannot have any Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And it sounds like we are like a couple of centuries ago. It's not. It doesn't sound like we are in 2018. If you have a problem, any kind of a problem, find a solution. Don't just ban your electors to use this beautiful new thing. And lastly, I would say that there is a lot of differences between the countries, and because it's such a global thing, it will not help a specific country if it will ban crypto, like we see a few countries, not many, that are banning crypto, or you see banks, central banks in different countries ban crypto, even though it's considered to be illegal in that country. And it's so obvious that they are doing it because they are afraid of it, and not because it's really necessary or needed to be done. That's about it in general.
Thank you very much, On. And we are moving to the last but not least speaker, and we are having Sandris.
Two remarks. And tokens and for some part of crypto finance. I think this year is the year when we see that the market start defragmenting. I think from this year we can say that different regulations in different countries are quite different one, and as well as practices, how ICO is made and how token sales is made is quite different as well. And therefore I would say what I saw, that we are start the fragmenting market. For example, completely different regulations and completely different idea of ICOs are in the United States, and they completely different from Asia. This I think is one thing, and I think more and more like lawyers now is talking about that the good ICO strategy is so that you just pick up the countries in advance. Therefore, the biggest this year trend I would say is the fragmenting of and more like regionalizing crypto markets. Regarding blockchain part, I would say of course we are on the hype. So that we in that I mean that we have a lot of expectations from this technology, and I think it's good, and I think it's good for society in general. But of course, because it generates a lot of attention, and of course we see that there is a lot of startups who build technologies and who join our community is increasing year by year and or month by month. But if it would be like more realistically, I would say of course that there is I know a lot of companies and a lot of blockchain cases are struggling with adoption. So from one point of we see that there's a lot of hype and a lot of interest, but still it's very hard with adoption. And I think in 3-4 years we will see, like we will see what will be like these use cases which will stay forever. I think this is like this is like a year when we just a lot of experimenting, but still there's a lot of unknowns.
Thank you, Sandris. Actually, that's a very good point about what do we have in our future, because right now we are we have to point out where exactly we are going, because if we are just going to stand by and observing, that's not a deal. But we can see that everything is going with a super speed. But today we are writing our future, and what can we, how to say, what can we see or what can we expect coming? Because if right now we see the super speed, what can be in the nearest future in 5 or 10 years? Because we have here the users, the investors, the miners, developers. How this game will be regulated or not? Do we need this regulation or not? Where are we going actually with all this? I know that right now it's all about dialogue, all about some experience, but if we don't build like the aim point, where are we going, it's going to be the same, super speed without any control. What do you think, Yannick?
Yeah,
Sandris, yeah.
I can say what I observe. I think 2014, 2015, like these 2 years was where there's a lot of talks in conferences about Bitcoin. I think 2015-16 was a lot about blockchain technology. I think last year introduced it was all about ICOs and tokens. It seems that this year is about legal and regulations and standards of tokenization. And I believe that next year we will talk about a lot of crypto finance, like how different retail investors could more easily to navigate through the space, how we secure them with different kind of tokens, like different index type of tokens, different more smarter approaches, what we saw in traditional finance. I think this would be like my short-term guess. But long-term guess, I would say that there will be more and more tokenization of different technologies. I think now we mostly tokenize blockchain and blockchain technologies, and particularly the huge supplies tokenization of different kind of blockchain use cases. But I see that in 5 years, I think this tokenization of artificial intelligence and machine learning would be a big thing as well. But regarding blockchain, I would say in 5-7 years, I think it would be very good and most used ledger, digital ledger for for different kind of transactions. But and I think we will have 4, 5, 6, 7 different ledgers for different kind of transactions, and then I think like smaller networks maybe will die. This would be my guess.
Thank you, Sandris. Okay, Yannick, coming back to you.
Yes. I think if you look, of course, you can look at it from different angles. On one hand, it's something that I believe could happen, and I would like to hear the others on the topic where we're talking about, for instance, Africa. This for the first time that, for instance, building your venture, you don't need to go to Silicon Valley or to Wall Street to gain your capital. So this makes it basically for people everywhere in the world, so also in first world countries, be possible to basically play on a global scale. And this could also be an opportunity for them to basically surpass the status and maybe become a first world country. It's maybe far-fetched, but since the leap of innovation and having the lack of the in-between technologies and overstepping them, and not having these legacies in place would try to stop the development, would create ecosystem-wise, create new eco-centers in these areas which can flourish. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, what you will see is that a lot of legislation will come out, and since the decentralized nature, this will be an opportunity for nations to attract this innovation to their country if they have legislation that is in place. And besides that, we will see evolvement of the use cases of tokenization and so on beyond the crypto space. And I foresee within 2 years, we will have first big mass adoption applications where people will actually use blockchain on a big scale. But without even knowing that they're using blockchain. So I think there is a lot of business models that are going to be disrupted. That has to become, because we always generated business models from a centralized point of view, which make it, because of the zero-sum game, not the most efficient ones. But since we now can look at it from a bigger perspective and really look to the value optimization of all the stakeholders involved, this will create very much more efficient business models, and I'm really looking forward to this because this will create a faster innovation space and bigger added value for all the stakeholders involved. So I'm pretty much looking forward to how it's going to develop.
Okay, Jafar, what can you say from the experience of Africa and your own experience? We can't hear you, or it's just me?
Nope.
No.
Right now, good, yeah.
So, can you hear me now? Yeah, cool.
Yes.
So, what I wanted to mention here is that the year of 2017 was the year of the ICOs. So, soon, like in 1 or 2 years, we will see the result. We will see the application that was made, like in this period. But in the meantime, what will make the difference, I think, is the education. So how the end user, like the user, how he will like choose for using decentralized application and not centralized application. For example, like if we say social media, how can I be convinced as a simple user? I don't understand technology. I don't understand blockchain. I'm just a user. How can I like be educated to know that I have to use like decentralized systems, not a centralized one? So I think now it's like there is big effort and big work has to be in the education part, because as you know, most of us, like most of people today, don't know about the blockchain, and even if most of them own some cryptocurrency, but not all of them know how the technology is used, or how we can like find solution or make the difference between like the old let's say business or the old digital business. And the big challenge today is for everyone to know how to promote like this technology, and how these people have to be educated first, and they can see the interest of using blockchain technology. From the African side, I will say the blockchain is not that popular. Like people heard about the blockchain, but they are waiting to see how this technology could change things. And many initiative is done by some of the countries. I can mention Morocco, I can mention Uganda, Kenya, Tunisia. Like all those countries are trying to find some solutions on their their system, because you know that the most corrupted countries are in Africa. So they want to create their own blockchain for their ministry and for their systems, so that like we let's say we reduce the statistics of the corruption first. And of course, they are working on the education, but we need more people that get motivated and many parts of their time to educate people and show them how this technology could make things better.
Thank you, Jafar. Jim, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, so I really think that personally, regulation is desperately needed in the space. Just a rule structure for how what people can expect for going forward. I think there's been a lot of trepidation with these unique methods of raising capital because of the lack of certainty surrounding how the U.S. government is going to approach these things. So not just regulation here in the U.S., but everywhere. I think overall is a good idea. But that being said, I do think it needs to be a very I would somewhat argue the point that having a very top-down approach is a little, at times can be hurtful to the mentality of like a kind of this disruptive technology, where you don't necessarily know
the proper way to do it, to regulate it.
Oof, that's a really
tough question.
I think, well, insofar as it's a tough question to say, how do you do it without imposing the restrictions that would do what I want to avoid, which is stifling or really needlessly, restricting access to the resources that could become the next, whatever Facebook for blockchains is going to be. But at the same time, what I'd really want to avoid is, scammers, or have some accountability or some method of remediation for people that try to just take advantage of others through the anonymity or pseudo anonymity of different blockchains. So I completely agree. I would love to hear if other people have better suggestions or more concrete ones. I know I'm not providing any, but yeah, it's a very tough problem. I think that blockchains, I agree with Yannick though, that the blockchains are personally, I view them best as a back-end technology. I don't suspect that people will interact directly with them. I mean, as a PhD, I'm like pursuing a PhD in physics, and it still has taken me a bit of time to get up to speed with how do I interact with Ethereum and do all these things and build a dApp. And maybe I don't have a CS degree, right? So there's a difference there, but expecting the average user to be able to interact directly with blockchains, I believe, is a bit of an ask. And so maybe that just says we need better interaction tools and tooling around that for developers. But yeah, I think these problems of understanding what a blockchain is, and the best way that people understand it is by using it. But if you hide it from them, then they don't know how to use it. And then if they don't understand it, they can't regulate it. So it's a very convoluted and tough thing.
It's a circle with no end. Okay, Jim, thank you so much. Nicola, moving to you.
I wouldn't say it's a circle with no end at all. I mean, look at how countries are starting now to develop legal frameworks for token projects. Look at Liechtenstein. They just introduced their proposal for a legal framework 2 days ago, which has been actually quite well welcomed. Malta did the same thing. We're expecting this to come into action, I think, in Q3 2018. Gibraltar are doing something like Switzerland is working on this. Estonia is working on something similar. Singapore, and so on and so on. A couple of weeks or days ago, the SEC actually said that Ethereum is not really a security. So there are current ways how things are developing in a very positive way, in my point of view, when it comes especially to regulation. And I also think that actually regulation will ease a lot of people into the space because of the points that were also mentioned earlier. When you look at scams, when you look at uncertainties when it comes to the technology, when you look into holes in the smart contracts and so on, there are really so many things that need to be looked at that creating a framework which will give people something like a base structure of feeling safe definitely will drive a lot of new people into the space. Now, what I would love to see is more collaboration between different countries when it comes to creating such legal framework, and also the involvement of, let's call them crypto evangelists or crypto professionals, because I mean the space is really, really young compared to other space like banking, pharmaceuticals, or anything else. But there are people with a lot of knowledge, and those people should be used in order to make the most out of this. Concerning the educational part, I would tend to disagree actually with what was said earlier, because in all fairness, do you guys know how exactly a car or an engine of a car functions, or do you just drive the car? I think this is something which can be related to here quite well too, because as long as the DLT technology runs on an underlayer, and people can use applications that give them a better experience, that give them more security, that give them a better usage and a better outcome, far outweigh the need of educating the masses per se. I think that developers need to be educated in a better way, because Ethereum, for example, until today has a very, very horrible library, and also not a lot of SDKs which can be used from people to actually build applications on that. This is why we need better SDKs and better documentation and better libraries, so that people can get the basic knowledge which in order to build all the applications that we need. Now, we have cool programs like introductory courses, which are very nice for people to get into the project or into the space, but they're still lacking a lot of things. Then we have other projects that focus on having developers become blockchain developers, because it's impossible if you have no idea about the technology for you to become a good developer, which can be taken seriously in a couple of months. It's outrageous. I mean, it was earlier mentioned that people with a PhD in physics right now still have issues with that. How are you not going to have any if you get quickly into the space? So groundwork, collaboration, and really better documentations for projects, in my opinion, is something that is absolutely necessary for this.
Thank you so much for your opinion, Nicola. Okay, on Yavin, would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, so I would start by saying that finance-wise, I think that we would see a few coins being used by most people. I think that the current problems that we have with different coins is such as speed of transaction and overusage of electricity with regard to Bitcoin, for example. I think that this problem will be solved or improved significantly. I think that legal-wise, we would see a few countries taking the lead and empowering crypto and blockchain. As Nicola just mentioned, some of them are already doing that, like Liechtenstein, Malta, Gibraltar, and so on. I think that the adoption by the masses will grow more and more over the few years, and people will be using it as a part of their daily routine. For example, legal contracts will not be signed on paper anymore. They will be signed by using the blockchain. If you want to buy a real estate property, you will sign a blockchain contract. And I would like to also mention about the fact that Nicola said that you don't need to understand how it works. And I agree with it partially, because one of the biggest problems that we have in the industry at the moment is that you actually sometimes need a PhD to understand it. Like Jim mentioned it a few minutes ago, I'm considered to be a very technological person. I'm not a developer, but I'm very technology oriented, and it took me a few months to understand what is going on and to really dive into it. And I think that the biggest difference that we will see in the next few years, maybe even next year already, is that a few companies will be able to take crypto and blockchain to the masses and to make it much more UX friendly, user experience friendly, which is not the case at the moment. And I'll give one example that I am familiar with. I helped one of the crypto companies in Israel to implement its system in a low-tech business that doesn't have anything to do with technology, and allow its customers to be able to use crypto. And it works amazingly because the business doesn't have to take any risks with the volatility of the coins, because the business can decide that the crypto will be transferred into fiat immediately. And I think that we will see many more companies and many more countries that will allow the usage of crypto and blockchain, and it will evolve. And the last thing that I would say is that I think that the biggest change will be the banks stopping to fight it, because at the moment it's very, very well known that even in countries that the crypto is not against the law, they are doing everything that they can in order to make it hard for crypto and blockchain companies. And again, as an example, the Supreme Court in Israel ruled against one of the biggest banks in Israel about a month ago, because the bank didn't allow one of the most well-known crypto exchanges to operate in a way that will allow day-to-day business. And it's impossible to work and to grow this way. And I think that as soon as the banks will stop fighting us, then we will see huge progress, because right now it's not only developing, it's also fighting with them. So that would be the biggest change, in my opinion.
Thank you so much. Well, we clearly understand if we have like a game of interest, it's always about a fight. So maybe we should start a dialogue with countries, a dialogue with authorities, a dialogue with countries. What do you think about that?
I
Because
think
right
that you're
now we have
absolutely
like
right.
different
And
sides.
I think that most crypto evangelists will agree to help. I can speak about myself, and I can say that any government, any bank that will ask for my help, I will gladly help with no charge. I will not even ask for any money for it, just because it's so important to get them to understand that it's not something, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You just need to get used to it, understand it. And even if you don't want to understand it, then accept the fact that it's here to stay and it's not going away.
Actually, there is a problem that people don't even accept the fact that we already have this process on. We already have everything we are talking about. And just because we don't have a proper education, it doesn't really matter that it's not our real time. That's the question.
You're right, and it is a problem. But again, I just think that people sometimes choose to ignore or choose to fight against something because it's so new, and because it's something that they're not used to. And I would add one more thing that I didn't mention before, and Nicolas mentioned about the different scams. Then I would say that obviously I understand why people can be afraid of it, but instead of just banning it, do something about it. Try to help to get rid of the scams. For example, in my company at Cointelligence, what we decided to do a few months ago is to dive into ICO ratings. And the reason that we did that is because we understood that there is a serious gap in the market, and it's very hard for ICO investors to really know when it's a scam or it's the real deal. So we started doing rating for ICOs, and we are trying to actually help the companies. We are not looking to give them a low score just for the sake of it. We are always willing to explain why we gave a low score to someone. Let's say if it's not a scam, obviously. If it's a scam, no matter what, it's a 0 always. But if it's not a scam and the company got a low score, we would be very willing to help and explain why they got the low score. So what I'm saying is everyone should think how they can actually help in order to just fight over it.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your experience. Sandris, we are moving to your part. Are you still alive over there?
Yeah, I think no, I'm just listening to these talks. I just ask myself one question.
Which
I
one?
ask why. For example, to my mind, and you will find a lot of people who will say that artificial intelligence maybe will have more impact on societies than blockchain adoption. And then I ask my one question: why we don't have so big talks and so much talks about regulation of artificial intelligence, that we have so many talks about regulation of cryptos? And I think, to my mind, one answer is clear. I think at least everybody in the world, regulators see crypto world as finance. Like, we have one big use case. It's all about finance. We redesign finance, and always, what do regulators in that stage? They always want to protect themselves for failing. That a lot of people will lose money, so that they're afraid that public somehow will be involved in ICOs and will lose a lot of money. And I think what's going on is that we need to do two things. One thing is I think I see underwriters and advisors. They need to come together and make some kind of NGOs and propose the standards like ethical standards to industry. One thing, and I think second, this organization should work with governments all over the world, because it's true that that regulations will happen, but the question is whether they will happen interests of us or interests of only which are driven by fear of regulator bodies.
Thank you,
Thus,
Sandris. Do you think such
say
type of NGOs would change something?
I would say so what I see here is I don't see honestly I don't see so many I see like around so many I see underwriters and I see advisors coming together and proposing a good laws on token and ICOs. So usually all these sanctions and all these interpretations are happening from regulatory side, and it's self-obvious. You need to understand they are just they're people who aim is to protect public, and of course there is no doubt that there is a lot of scams in industry, and there is no doubt that I think there will be a lot of lost money as well. Of course, it happens always with some kind of new innovations, and particularly in finance. But of course, I see underwriters and advisors could be more active on this, no doubt.
Thank you, Sandris. So we have so many talented people here, at least on our screen. I guess you can go for it and make something to change this system to the better thing.
Is that a question, or
it's just a proposal, an offer, or just
I think that all of us are already doing everything that we can in order to get the industry better, to make it better.
Sure. For sure. Thank you very much. That's because every single person here is talking about blockchain, about changes and everything. Thank you so much for your dedication. I would love to hear something in the mode of advice, because here we have a very big auditory from Ukraine, like more people are from Ukraine and from the nearest countries. And the main problem here we have is that there are a lot of crypto holders, okay? And they are just in the ecosystem like observers, watching what is happening, how we can change their role to be a person that can change something, a person that can start investing or doing something, starting business, wherever it is with the blockchain, okay? How we can change their roles from just observers holding some crypto to the people that can do something here in Ukraine. Is it possible, or we are still we have a lack of education, lack of regulation, etc.? Yannick.
Yes, yeah. If you look to Ukraine, I think that it's evolving very fast at the moment, blockchain-wise. Yes, most of the people are crypto holders. I don't really like this type because it is not contributing something in a positive way than only holding and speculating on worth. I think that's not something.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
What I want to tell them is to trigger them and really look to the applications and to also understand it better. And if you have tokens of one platform, go use them, go play with it, go write your own smart contract. It's not that hard. There is a lot of guides, so explore it in one way. On the other hand, you can contribute in any way. If you are a writer, you can go and interview people and introduce articles, make blogs, or if you are a business developer, go see if you can help certain projects that resonate with you. That's on one hand. On the other hand, I foresee that within 2 months within Ukraine, you will hear more about legislation. I think that Ukraine has especially a lot of technical talent, so also evolving there on the education side to learn the people more on one hand about the technical side, and on the other hand also on a little bit of soft skill leadership side. I think this will be a lot of added value where this ecosystem can grow. Especially because the decentralized nature, you don't need to be a country of jack of all trades. So focus on where your strength lies and connect with other ecosystems to really make it thrive and to really find the symbiotic relation between ecosystems that can really create an added value for the space. So I'm looking forward how it's going to develop, and especially in the applications to fight corruptions with the current reforms. I foresee that there is a lot of possibilities and opportunities there. So let's see what the future will bring. I see it's bright.
I wouldn't agree with Yannick. I would say, to my regarding Ukraine, I would say Ukraine, how it's look like to my geographic perspective. One of the biggest supply of tokens and ICO projects are coming from post-Soviet countries like Russia and particularly Ukraine. There's a lot of ICO projects are going there, and they're mostly going for fundraise to Asia and partly to the United States. I would say from Europe itself, like Netherlands, Germany, Austria, even more France. I think these are more crypto and underdeveloped markets. For example, in France, there is not so many ICO investors and almost none. There's some few ICO projects only. So regarding Ukraine, Ukraine is a very huge supplier of tokens and ICO startups, and as well as blockchain engineers.
Yeah, I saw it myself. It has grown a lot, especially the last 1.5 years.
Thank you, Sandris, for your comment. Okay, but still, despite that fact that a lot of investments are coming, the mass, they aren't in the topic, actually. A lot of people, they are just crypto holders, without knowing what to do, without trust to the future, without knowing the regulations, etc. So actually there is a problem over here. Yannick, are we coming back to you, or you are done with, and we can move to Jafar?
I think
I can comment here.
Time, so let's go to the next one.
Thank you so much. Okay, nice. Jafar, it's your turn right now.
Yes. So I think, for example, in the crypto holder in Ukraine, for example, if they can see that the technology is bringing solutions to the mainstream, I think, of course, they will move. Like, they will invest their money and try to find solution for people. But today we are still like in the beginning of this revolution. So of course, there are many people who hold themselves before like investing or before doing things, waiting for some real solutions to come. And let me just come back to Sandris, who mentioned in France there are no ICOs. I would say like there are many France projects that work on the blockchain and making many ICOs, but as there is a lack of regulation, there is no regulation here, and now Switzerland, but the community now is growing. Like if we see meetups like 1 year ago or 2 years ago, really we were few people who met to talk about the technology. But now, like there are many meetups, many events. People are trying to find solution, but of course it's underdeveloped. Like the blockchain community is still like small. And all of them, like even here, when we spoke about the technology, we took the big parts of the discussion talking about the regulation, but I think the regulation will follow. We don't have to focus on the regulation. And the problem today, in all the conferences, like the half of the program are talking about the regulation. And the regulation, like it's for new people who are coming, they just see those problems. They can't be like working, and the motivation is going down. So because they see all the crypto people like talking about the regulation more than the solution that can bring this revolution. So yeah.
Jafar,
I don't know if you want me to talk
that...
about my experience in Africa, if we have time.
Yeah, we have some time. We still have 10 minutes to the end, so yeah.
All right. So I'm working with many like startups and people in the crypto area to find some solution in the African markets. So what we did is that first of all, we create a blockchain house, which is a co-working space and a training center for people to learn about the technology, to understand how we can use it, etc. So it's for developer mainly. But when I spoke, I said we need to educate people about this technology, because in Africa, I don't know if you know, guys, but there is really a big problem with education. People don't use internet yet. People don't have access to electricity. People don't use, they still make everything is with paper. They don't have this culture of the digital world. So there is a big gap between the world and the African countries. So this is why there is a big work on the education, especially that with the use of blockchain now, they will not use the internet with the normal way, but they will use directly the blockchain solutions. And this is what we hope. This is what we are working on. And I think, and I'm definitely sure that the technology now start going. Finding some solution now, especially for the financial part, because people, they don't trust their currency. They start to invest in the cryptocurrency cryptocurrency and fiat money, like a dollar or euro, because they don't trust their currency. So everyone now want to hold some crypto money. So, and just the step after is to know what it is about, why it's secure, etc., so that they can use it. So yeah, we started with the House of Blockchain, and just after we created the Central magazine. So we make articles about the technology and the use case that we can use it. We make many analysis about blockchain startups, about ICOs, and the community is getting bigger and bigger. And today, the project that I'm working on, I'm 100% on Electrify network. Which is we want to give the access to people who don't have electricity. So we will be working on so we will provide microgrids so that people can produce their own energy, and allow them to incentivize them to use to produce their own energy. We'll provide them a peer-to-peer trading platform so that they can sell their excess of energy and make this investment, they make profit in it, so that they sell their excess to their neighbors. And today we have many governments interested in the project, and they want us to implement our solution there. And I think the most let's say 80% of the countries in Africa want to find a regulation solution for that many startups can implement and work to improve the situation there.
Thank you, Jafar, for your experience. I would love to clarify the moment when you say we are the enterprises, or who are you, the representatives of which
so I represent many startups.
NGOs,
so I represent many. Yeah. So I told you in the beginning we start with Blockchain House, which is like a co-working space and incubator for blockchain startups working in Africa. So when I say we, it's startup blockchain that try to find solution in the African market.
Nice, thank you so much. Okay, Jim, would love to hear some your advice, apart from USA.
Yeah. So I think the hodling of tokens is basically it's the most obvious thing to do, right? If the market's going up, and all I have to do is hold, why wouldn't I do that? It's the economically rational decision to do. So and when you're the unit that you have to pay for to actually participate in the network is not the token itself, but it's electricity as in proof of work, then you're incentivized to just hold on to your tokens and let other people do the work and add value to the network. So I think aligning incentives to actually get people on whatever blockchains you're on is really the way. And then how do you do that without maybe making a fundamental one? And I think that kind of ties into what Jafar was talking about, that what blockchains really one of the big use cases that's exciting to myself is these new microeconomies that can develop out of blockchains. The use of being able to sell my electricity back to the grid. Like it's no longer are we forced into economic models that are maybe one way, where like I'm giving my data to Facebook or I'm getting electricity, and maybe I use less electricity from the grid because I have solar panels, but I don't do anything with my extra electricity on the solar panels whenever my batteries just leak it out. But if I can sell that back, I can actually make money on it, or I can make money on who uses my data. So these sorts of new transaction models, I think, are a really great way to incentivize. But it remains to be seen. It's to have that means that now I have to have people interact with the blockchain at a very fundamental level, or centralize. Personally, I think the way to do it would be to centralize the user use of the blockchain, and use the blockchain as the back-end transaction layer that kind of manages all this stuff. But I will come back and say, I think it also comes down to a question of aligning incentives.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, guys, we still have like 3 minutes till the end of the discussion, so I would love to spread it in between Nicola, On, and Sandris to just sum up a little bit, okay? Nicola?
I'm sorry, I lost track on that one. We started off with Ukraine and went over Africa to America and back, so we did like a little global tour here. What do you want my feedback on exactly?
To sum up a little bit, well, actually, my personal question was about not the question, but some piece of advice from your side to the Ukrainian crypto holders to change their role from observers to the changing world.
Okay. On one side, I'm going to make this actually quite quick. So on one side, there's nothing wrong with being an observer at this stage, right? Because there's a lot of unclarity, and if you there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. On the other side, I think that a lot of good things have been mentioned. You can join meetups. You can start working towards research proposals. You can get involved either with a lot of the existing outsourcing companies that are actually based in Ukraine, as there's a lot of technical talent in Ukraine and the entire entity of Eastern Europe and the surrounding countries. So you have a huge opportunity to start making use of this technology, actually. But in my honest and humble opinion, I reckon that right now, the best thing you can do is also wait a little bit to see how things will develop, because there are other countries that are doing the first step movement, and again, there's nothing wrong with taking a step back and seeing what others will do for Ukraine, in my opinion.
Thank you, Nicola. Okay, and we are moving to On Yavin.
Okay. So my opinion is a bit different than Nicolas. I say that no one should just be an observer. I say that as many people that will start doing more, it will just be better for the crypto community. I think that everyone should do their own research. Everyone should study and learn as much as possible about the industry, about the different parts of the industry. And I would say that with regards to Ukraine specifically, I would say that just as an example of very hot news that just came out a few hours ago, for example, companies that are mining, they do not require to obtain a license. I think that this specific action by the Ukraine government, and I don't know if these news are genuine or not, they just been published a few hours ago. This is a great thing. And I think that the combination of people doing the research, using their own capabilities, like as Yannick mentioned before, if you're a writer, then join any company, any venture, and start writing. If you're a developer, joining and start doing development, even if you do it on your free time and not as a part of a regular daily work, that also helps. And the last thing, and I know that we've been talking about it too much, but there's no other way. If the regulators will not support, then it will just slow things down. And I think that the countries that will not be pro crypto and blockchain will be left behind, and the countries that are already doing great work will enjoy it a lot over the next few years and many, many years to come after that.
Thank you, On. So it's all about being proactive position through every single day in your life, as I can sum up your speech.
I can say that I live and breathe crypto, but I know that I am a crypto and blockchain fanatic. So as long as you can spare any time into it, that will help a lot the community.
For sure. Thank you, On. Okay, finalizing, Sandris, the last couple of minutes, I'd say 1 minute for you.
Okay, regarding Ukraine, as I told you, I see at least part of it in Europe. It's top free country. Here in Kiev, you can find 2 free conferences each week regarding blockchain and cryptos. Your conference organizers organize this conference all over the world. Your startups usually wins ICO pitches all over the world. I think what is different between you and other countries, I may say, that from your country, in your conferences, I do not see so much good collaboration between government and community. This I think you can improve, and I would wish that you will stay top free country in Europe at least for next 10 years, and maybe get to be top free country in the world. I think it's possible if you see how much talent you have and how much startups you have. I think you need just amplifying it, and I think government maybe help this with this amplifying ecosystem and Ukraine role in the globe.
Thank you so much, Sandris. So it seems to me a nice picture of the future we have. So once again, today we had Yannick Dols, On Yavin, Jafar Said, Jim Eman, Sandris Murins, and Nikola Stoyanov. Dear experts, thank you very much for your dedication, for your proactive position in live and on this blockchain field. Thank you very much for delivering such an important message to us, to the world, to every single person who is watching and hearing us. And I hope it's just the beginning. It's the last day of the blockchain day, but still we are expecting some international experts to talk. My name is Nika Konstantinova. We've been live online on the blockchain day, and see you in the nearest future.
Thank you.